Lesson 3.3 Protocol Amendments. If the protocol is the blueprint for a trial, amendments are the approved design changes that happen once construction has already begun. Most Phase 3 trials will go through several amendments over their lifetime. The question isn't whether your trial will have amendments, it's whether you understand the process and get them right. In this lesson, we'll cover what triggers an amendment, how they're classified, and how they're approved. A protocol amendment is a formal written description of a change to or clarification of the approved protocol. Every amendment creates a new version of the protocol document, and every substantial amendment must receive ethics committee and regulatory approval before it can be implemented at a site. What triggers an amendment? There are 5 common drivers. Safety signals. If new safety data emerges from the trial itself, from a related trial, or from post-marketing surveillance on a related product, the protocol's safety provisions may need to be updated. Stopping rules revised. Dose modifications added. New monitoring requirements introduced. Efficacy data. If a pre-planned interim analysis shows that the drug is more or less effective than the original assumptions, a sample size re-estimation or even a design change may be needed. Supply changes. If the investigational product's formulation changes, or the manufacturing site changes, or the storage conditions change, the protocol must be updated. Site expansion. Adding new clinical sites or new countries often triggers country-specific regulatory submissions, and in some cases, the addition of new sites in a new therapeutic environment requires protocol modifications. And finally, regulatory requests. Health authorities sometimes request changes to the protocol as a condition of continued trial authorization. The key principle in all of these cases: nothing changes at the sites until the amendment is approved. Not all amendments are treated equally. The regulatory framework distinguishes between 2 categories. A substantial amendment is one that may affect participant safety or welfare, the scientific rationale, the conduct of the trial, or the quality and integrity of the data. Substantial amendments require prior written approval from the ethics committee and, in most countries, from the regulatory authority, before any implementation at any site. Examples of substantial changes: any modification to the eligibility criteria, a change to the primary endpoint, a change to the dose, route, or formulation of the investigational product, addition of a new study procedure, a change to the statistical analysis plan that affects statistical power. A non-substantial amendment is one that doesn't affect participant welfare or the scientific integrity of the trial. Administrative updates. A typo correction that doesn't change meaning. A clarification that doesn't alter how participants are managed. Changes to logistical information only. Non-substantial amendments typically require notification to the ethics committee, but not prior approval, meaning they can often be implemented immediately. The practical lesson here: when in doubt, classify a change as substantial. The cost of treating a non-substantial change as substantial is administrative delay, annoying but manageable. The cost of treating a substantial change as non-substantial and implementing it without approval is a serious GCP violation, with potentially severe consequences. When in doubt, escalate. So how does a substantial amendment actually get approved? There are 6 steps. Step 1, identify the change. The need for a protocol modification is recognized by the sponsor's medical team, a safety committee, a regulatory body, or the trial's investigators. The rationale is documented in writing. Step 2, draft the amendment. Regulatory affairs and medical writing prepare the amended protocol, now with a new version number and date, along with a cover letter explaining exactly what changed and why. Step 3. Submit to the IEC or IRB. The substantial amendment package is submitted to the Ethics Committee at every relevant site. If the amendment affects participant information or consent, an updated informed consent form must accompany the submission. Step 4. Submit to the regulatory authority. In parallel, or sequentially depending on the country, the amendment is submitted to the National Health Authority. Different countries have different requirements. Some require approval before implementation, others allow a notification pathway. Step 5. Receive approvals. The sponsor and sites wait for written approval. For substantial amendments, the clock doesn't start on implementation until both the Ethics Committee and the Regulatory Authority have provided written approval at each site. Step 6. Implement and, if required, reconsent. Sites are notified with the new protocol version. If the amendment affects participant welfare, for example, a new safety risk has been identified, every currently enrolled participant must be reconsented before continuing on study. In a global trial with 30 or more countries, managing this process in parallel, tracking approvals across dozens of sites, is a significant operational challenge. A CTMS, or a dedicated amendment tracking tool, is essential. Before we close Section 3, here's a knowledge check. A sponsor wants to change the primary endpoint of their Phase 3 trial after reviewing competitive landscape data. What type of amendment is this, and what approval is required before any site can implement it? The answer? This is a substantial amendment. A change to the primary endpoint goes to the heart of the scientific integrity and statistical design of the trial. It affects what the trial is powered to demonstrate and how the results will be interpreted. Under no circumstances is this a non-substantial administrative change. Prior written approval from the IEC or IRB at every site and from the National Regulatory Authority is required before implementation. And to bring this section together, the protocol is the binding master document for every clinical trial. It must be approved before any participant is enrolled. Its 12 sections cover every aspect of the trial's conduct. Objectives, design, population, and statistical methods are all pre-specified. Any deviation, major or minor, must be documented and reported. And any change to the protocol requires a formal amendment process with appropriate approvals before implementation. In Section 4, we'll turn to the investigational product, how it's manufactured, labeled, distributed, and managed across a global trial. See you there!